Welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review, folks. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson. This is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi, guys.
And tonight we'll be reviewing a two-parter, I should call it, called Stephen King's It Chapter 1. That was done in 2017. And the second one, which is called Chapter 2, in 2019. Yeah. So, in other words, we're doing both.
This is actually the remake. There was an original one done, how long ago?
Yeah, well,
a couple of years ago. A couple of years back.
Yeah, it was a mini TV series, and I don't know what the reviews on that one or the box office. I don't think there's a box office on it because it went directly to television.
Yeah, and actually it wasn't too bad. I liked it, but this I think this does make slightly better job of it, you think?
Yeah, I think that apart from the time period this movie is based, it's close enough to the original book. Yeah. A lot more than the mid-original one.
Yeah. Cool.
So it's closer. Now, we have a few things to discuss.
We got lots of things. Producers, directors, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, right. Yeah, because we've got two sort of movies here and two sort of time frames or whatever. Okay, here we go. The original movie was produced by Ron Lee, Dan Lin, Seth Grahame-Smith, David Katzenberg, and Barbara Muschietti. Yeah, whatever. The second movie was actually done by Barbara Muschietti, Dan Lin, and Roy Lee. So you had the same producers on board.
See, the producers are, I think they're a brother and sister. Whatever. And they worked on the project with their director.
They use the same director for both, Andy Muschietti. Mm-hmm. Original screenplay was done by Chase Palmer, Carrie Falkenanga, and Gary Doberman, based on It by Stephen King, obviously. The second screenplay was done by Gary Doberman. Okay. That gets rid of that stuff. I've got a cast of thousands, just like Ben-Hur and different things.
Well, that's why I decided not to dwell on the cast part, but mostly focus on...
I have to bring us a bit of it in.
Mostly to focus on the directors and maybe the person who originally wrote it.
But I will bring some in. Okay, there you go. Jaden Lieber plays Bill Denborough. He's the leader of this group of kids. Yeah. This is like a coming-of-age movie meets horror movie sort of thing, a bit like Stand By Me with steroids. Yeah.
And another thing about this is Stephen King likes to put himself in the story, as you well know, and he always bases his lead protagonist or lead character as a writer,
or a journalist, or something or other.
He may have encountered a lot of people in his writing community that he bases these ideas on most of the time.
Anyway, here we go.
Go on.
These are kids at the moment.
I know.
Okay. Bill Skarsgård plays Pennywise. The antagonist. The creepy clown guy. He's actually a dimensional being. We found out later on. So whatever. We won't go into
space, what do they call it? Oh yeah, clowns from outer space type.
Yeah, like killer clowns from outer space.
Yeah, that's it.
Now that's a good movie. That was a total rip off of The Blob. Yeah. Now anyway, Jeremy Ray Taylor plays Ben Hascom. He's a slight overweight boy who's got a very good nature.
And has a big crush on Beverly, obviously.
And Beverly is played by Sophia Lillis, and she's a damn fine actress. I mean, she's only about 15 here, and I think there's going to be a lot more of her in the future because she looks good and she acts good. So
she has good acting talent.
Yeah, I think it's great.
And I think that the kid named Eddie, the actor Kitty Eddie, he's been in a number of other productions, including Ghostbusters that came out not too long ago.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Anyway, here we go. Finn Wolfhard plays Richie Tozier. And I know that name from somewhere.
Yeah, he was the kid who played in that Ghostbusters Afterlife movie. He was playing the older brother.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you'd mentioned that, didn't you? Wyatt Olaf plays Stanley, one of the other kids, Stanley Uris. And Chosen Jacobs plays Mike Hanlon. I think that takes care of the kids.
Yeah.
I think. Oh no, Eddie. Jack Dillon Grazier plays Eddie Casbrack. There you go. That's a good. That's a bit of hard one to get your tongue around. I think I'll leave the rest of them. Oh, actually, there's only about one more. Nicholas Hamilton plays Henry Bowers. He's a mean kid in the neighbourhood.
Yeah, he's the school bully and outside bully from school. School.
Okay.
He's not a nice guy to have around.
No, he's one of, the school bully who's got a couple of cronies around him, and he ain't really that powerful unless his friends are hanging around. Yeah, one of those type,
Yeah.
But he goes a bit mental later on in the movie, but we won't go on that just now.
Yeah, I often think that, I was telling Mike this last night when we were watching it, that I think Pennywise chose Henry to become, because he would make a good scapegoat and a good person to likely get to be the chosen person to be made the person killing the kids, because he cooks him into it using his mental problem.
Anyway, I'm almost finished. Okay. That was the cast for this one. Well, I'll do the budget for this as well. This was made about 40 million and made about 700 million. I think they got the money back. Now, I will mention the other cast, and then we just go into telling the story.
Yeah.
The other cast, okay.
The adult cast.
The adult cast, yes. Okay, Jessica Chastain plays Beverly, a grown-up Beverly. James McAvoy plays Bill Denborough.
I know him, obviously.
Bill Hader plays Richie Tozier.
Yeah, he's a New Zealander, I think he was. Australian.
Possibly. I didn't get that far.
I think he's hot.
Isaiah Mustafa plays Mike Hanlon.
He was actually, when he was auditioning, he actually got the role at the same time when he was getting married at the time.
Good.
So he got a role and a wife at the same time. So that's good for him. Good for him.
Yeah, he got a double header. There you go. Now, Jay Ryan plays Ben Hashcombe. James Ransom plays Eddie Casbrack, whatever, that dude.
Eddie, just call him Eddie, I do.
Andy Bean plays Stan.
Brief role.
And Bill Skarsgård comes back as Pennywise, the creepy clown dude.
What about Henry Bowers?
Well, he's not mentioned here.
Oh, who cares?
He might be mentioned in other stuff, but yeah. What else? And this one made some serious money too, but not as much as the other. It was actually made for more. It was made for about 79 to 80 mil.
Yeah.
And made about 470,000 at the box office. So they both made some serious dollars. Anyway, do you want to tell the story now?
Yes, I will. So the story begins where Georgie, Bill's little brother, I should mention, is preparing a boat with his brother and is going to sail it during a wet weather. And, of course, he goes down to the basement to get the wax, whatever stuff that used to make sure that...
his big brother's going to use some wax to make it waterproof.
Of course, we think we see Pennywise in the basement. We don't know. I suspect he's down there. Where else would you find him? And then Bill waxes up the old boat, the paper boat, and dear old Georgie's off in the wet weather. And as he's going, he follows the boat, and eventually that boat gets into a sewer drain, and that sewer drain is occupied by none other than Pennywise, the dancing clown. And Pennywise acts all friendly, nice, and then tries to gain the boy's trust, like what Mike would call it, welcome, like the fly in the spider's web. Wouldn't you say, Mike?
Pretty much. He's sort of like, the old reel him in. Yeah.
Reel him in, yes.
Throw the bait out, Hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah. Speaking of, George reaches out to get his boat,
the Pennywise offering back to him like a
but
good clown
he then
is.
bites his hand off, and then George tries to get away, but then he gets dragged back into the drain.
Yeah.
And a year.
Lucky it was raining, cleaned all the blood up nicely, didn't it? Yeah.
The only witness to the thing was an old lady and a kitty cat. And the kitty cat was watching the whole thing.
If only the cat could talk. Whatever. Yeah.
A year later, everyone assumes that Georgie just disappeared or died. But dear old Bill thinks that there's a chance he may be still there, down there, somewhere. But it's been a year. Big chances are he's long gone, dead.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's getting close to summer break or summer holidays, whatever
I think
they call
summer
it.
holidays, yeah.
And him and his mates are going to go down to the Barrings to find the sewer. That's the sewer, to find out what became of his brother. Everyone else thinks he's just dead or disappears, and his dad doesn't help very much. They probably did a search party, went on the clock news saying, we missed the kid, yada, yada, yada.
And the police didn't care in the end. We couldn't find it. No leads. Leave it alone. Go away. Next problem, please. Yeah, that sort of stuff.
This is not the only kid that goes missing. We hear of a Betty Ripson who gets missing.
We're doing 2 movies here. Do not go into everybody's name, please.
So,
other children went missing. Full stop. Good.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Beverly, who's going on school break, is bullied by her bullies, a nasty girl who just treats her like crap because of all the horrible rumors that have been spread about her having boyfriends or having a lot of relationships.
Yeah, girls get a bit bitchy and try to start rumours about each other and stuff, and teen stuff,
And she calls her trash and then
slut and everything, whore and that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Henry Barrows teases the losers. That's what they call them, loser club.
The loser club.
Yeah.
I was in a sort of a losers club when I was a kid.
I think we all have been. One way or another, been in a set of
we used to get picked
losers.
on by some mean guys, so we just hung out together. Yeah.
In my world, in my belief, I don't think there was very much popular kids in my school. We always just had the average people we hanged out with. We didn't have any. We didn't have popular cliques in Australia.
Yes, we did.
We all dressed alike, wore the same clothes. We were practically in school. You're all forced to wear the same uniform. And
actually, we was one of those sort of things too. Yeah, you couldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, so technically, we didn't exactly have style except for the days when we have Mufti Day.
Yeah, and I was actually in a situation. I was in an all-boys school wearing uniform, and Sarah was in a co-ed wearing uniform. So
so we didn't exactly
You couldn't be all flashy.
No, so we didn't exactly have cliques in our school. Yeah. Moving on.
They want to go to bed tonight. Okay.
So Bill and his friends, they try to explore the Barrings, and they found evidence of Betty's shoe, indicating that something or someone has been down there recently. Meanwhile, they meet with Ben, who was bullied by Henry Bowers because he's got him in for something. I think the story is, his story was that Henry tried to cheat off Ben's paper, and when Ben dobbed him in,
he got in trouble.
Detention and stuff, and he wants to get even with dear old Ben. Of course, when he does meet up with him, he plans on cutting him. He ends up cutting into his skin, cutting an H, and try to write Henry, on his stomach. Eventually, Ben was able to get away, and he meets up with the rest of the losers, and they help him by taking him to the local drugstore to get some supplies.
Condoms?
No. Mostly bandages, and stuff like that. Yeah. Of course, they steal the stuff because they have enough money.
So but didn't
Beverly helps.
She sort of
flirts with the pharmacist.
The old guy who's a bit sleazy old pharmacist. So
you've got to find that almost some of the adults in this movie are not really.
They weren't nice people, but she flirted with him and whatever. And the kids walked out for all your bandages and disinfectant and stuff.
Yeah. They bandage up Ben in an alleyway, and they make plans with Beverly the next day to meet up at a sort of a water hole or a lake, I think. Anyway, she goes back to her home. Her dad is a total sleaze.
What's the word?
A sleaze.
Okay.
That's probably the best word I could describe.
No, he sexually abuses her, but you don't see it on screen. But it's all implied and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, and if you read the book, it's implied there too. It's mentioned that there's more going on.
I think in the book, his wife was alive but knew what was going on. But in the movie, she died or walked out or something or other. Yeah.
I think everyone in the movie, every one of the adults, they either choose to ignore what's been going on. I mean, I think it's Pennywise's mind-controlling abilities to let the adults remain ignorant or ignoring what's there and just hopefully thinks that it'll go away in no time. Anyway, the kids meet up for a swim. Eventually, they find out Ben's been collecting articles of newspapers from the past, from Derry's past. That's the name of the town they live in. And he shows them more articles back at his room, which, and most of them deal with missing kids, missing people,
kids and adults.
Yeah, like every
27 years.
27 years, a big major disaster occurs in Derry that kind of causes so many people disappearing.
Damn.
Yeah, going missing. And there was a founding fathers where the campers from that period kind of disappeared from the camp too, saying that it was probably Indians, but there's no evidence of an Indian attack according to them.
It's like the butler did it all the time. The butler didn't always do it.
Anyway, there's no evidence. Anyway, so the kids had eventually, let me see, Beverly goes back to her home and somehow she gets blood in the sink pouring out of the sink in a big, massive...
Don't go overboard with it.
And the kids go to there. She shows them it, and her father doesn't see it either. It's
you can't see it. No, it's funny that.
Funny thing.
The bathroom is covered from ceiling, walls, windows, curtains, floors, blood all over the place, and adults can't see it. Interesting.
It is interesting. The kids next day cleaned it up, and...
Same day. Dad went out and she went out and got her friends and came there and cleaned up same day.
Not really. There was that later that night. After it, she probably got cleaned up downstairs to get rid of the smell of the blood on her face and her hair and her clothes.
It could have been the next day. I thought it was the same day in the afternoon.
And
Mum's like, carry on.
And she gets, she's kind of interested in Bill, but also Ben is interested in her. In a big way.
Ben's interested in her. He's always had a crush on her. How's that? Isn't that lovely?
Yeah. Anyway, so moving on. The kids eventually, they eventually meet up with Mike, who is also being bullied by Henry Bowers, and eventually they fight Henry using rocks and stuff, and start having what's it called, a rock war?
A rock fight, or rock war. Rock war. I did those when I was a kid. You know what the problem is?
What?
They hurt.
Of course.
I got hit a couple times.
Anyway, the kids win against Henry Bowers, and they head off, and they then discover another missing kid poster, which indicates the last one that was at the beginning is now forgotten. Now they're moving on to another.
So I'll move on to the next one. Move on to the next one. Yeah,
it's an ongoing thing. And the kids realize that something is amiss. They all start... all through the movie...
This way comes.
All through the movie, they've encountered something they cannot explain or could not explain it to other people or their parents. And they realize that, Mike says that this place is cursed. And his grandfather told him this. I think he's the most level-headed in this movie who knows something's wrong.
Yeah, because he lived all his life, you see, so he knows.
Yeah, see, Mike's... vision. He saw his parents murdered. He died in a fire, an arson fire, I should mention.
Yeah, someone set fire to the building they were in. I'm starting to think, was it Henry?
Maybe, no, really. Henry would be too young.
He knew about it, and he's hoping but he's older.
Maybe
he was older than Mike. I think a couple of years older, and. He seems to know, but he kept talking about his parents being burned alive.
Yes, he also said Beverly. He says that he even said something nasty about Beverly, saying that something gross. Anyway, moving on. Everyone seems to know something. Anyway, eventually, they all confessed what they seen. Stanley saw a picture coming alive, and it's really a scary picture. And let me see. Eddie sees a leopard, and Henry meets. I mean, not Henry. Ben sees a headless boy, and let me see. And Bill has encountered Georgie, who was in the basement of his house.
Who has been dead for a couple of years,
and
or a year, whatever.
So they realise that there's something wrong here. Of course, Richie hasn't seen anything yet. He says he hasn't. He's only. His biggest fear is clowns, and boy, he's going to get a big nasty surprise.
I don't like clowns either.
Yeah, the kids go to Bill's house where they see this map. There's also a sewer map too. And they work out the encounters of where this creature has come. There's the Black Spot, which was a nightclub, which is where there was an arson there, and a lot of people got hurt. And a lot of other places, and including the pipe drain where Georgie disappeared. And then something peculiar happens. The slide starts taking on a life of its own, and then we see the picture start showing Pennywise. And then the Pennywise picture comes to life and starts trying to attack and kill the kids. But fortunately...
Will you hurry up on this? We've got another movie to redo as well.
Yeah, luckily enough, Bill decides to head to the house. He finds out that it's the house where the creature is located near the old well.
Yeah, well, it's called the well house because there's a well underneath the house.
Yeah, and so they head there. At first, most of the kids don't really think this is a good idea, and think they should just go about their holiday business, just go and have fun, all that stuff. Throughout this movie, they said it's summer, we should be outside having fun, but this is not fun.
No, we could die here. Mm.
Anyway, Bill tells them his speech, telling them that they must do something, or more kids will die or be taken.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, they go inside the house, or at least, let me see, it was Richie, Bill, and Eddie. They go inside the house, and they confronted some weird stuff. But luckily enough, the rest of the other loser club appear, and they were able to defeat it. But somehow Eddie ends up breaking and fracturing his arm.
Yeah, that rings well. Yeah,
and Richie tries to set the arm, but he's not a doctor. He could have damaged it more permanently that way, wouldn't you say?
Well, possibly.
Anyway, once they got out of the house, they then, I guess, phoned up his mum to take him to the emergency room, and she gives them the finger, telling them, "You guys caused this, therefore I don't want you going near my son again."
You're
yada,
grounded.
yada.
Blah blah blah. Yeah. As a good mum would.
Well, she doesn't ground her son. She so much just told them to stay away. And she's not a nice person. She even called Beverly a slut and nasty stuff. I didn't like it. Anyway, the others decide they don't want to do another trip down to the house. They all decided to disband and go their separate ways. So the next couple of weeks, they all went about their business and doing
what kids do.
Yeah, and then we come to August and we see Henry Bowers shooting with his dad's gun. His dad's a sheriff or a deputy, I'm not sure. Not really mentioned. And his dad was annoyed with him taking the gun just taking the gun. And he shoots at his son's legs like a cowboy style.
His feet.
Yeah, his feet. And
he heads, dance a tad.
Yeah, and then he heads back inside. And
he humiliates him in front of his friends.
There we see a balloon. This is Pennywise's signature in this movie.
A red balloony.
And he approaches it. It's near his letterbox. And there we see a box inside the letterbox that has his knife. See, the knife disappeared, and therefore
he lost it.
Yeah,
it came back.
Mm-hmm. Then Henry goes inside the house and he kills his father all the while. And and the television keeps saying, "Kill them all, kill them all, kill them all." I think this is Pennywise's way of communicating to the world, trying to continue his reign of getting parents to ignore their surroundings. And I should mention, Henry really did kill his father in the book too. It was never mentioned in the movie. I mean, in the previous mini-series movie either. But in this one, it did happen.
Well, can't always have everything in it.
Anyway, meanwhile, Beverly meets up with her father, and her father shoves the postcard at her face saying that are you still my little girl? And she screams no, and she fights her father who's trying to take advantage of her, and she swings the toilet lid and kind of crashes his head. A lot of people think he's dead, but I don't think so, maybe. I'm not sure.
No, he didn't die.
And then Pennywise appears and abducts Beverly, and Bill arrives at the house, and we see him approaching Beverly's room, and we see on the ceiling, you will die if you try.
What's that mean?
Meaning, we know what's happened to Beverly. Soon enough, the rest of the team... Bill goes to the rest of the team, tells them the bad news that Beverly has been abducted by you-know-who, and they must get to the house and try to save her. Meanwhile, Beverly's inside the underground, underneath the house, and where Pennywise uses his dead lights to mesmerize... mesmerize or
puts her in a catatonic state.
Yeah.
Good word?
Yeah. Bill and the rest of the group, they head inside the house, where underneath in the basement is the well that's been concealed by so much years of wear. And there, Henry Bowers approaches the Mike, who was the last one who... I should mention, they all go down there. They kind of use a rope to climb down there. But Mike remains at the top, and he confronts Henry, who starts attacking him. And luckily enough, Mike was able to get the best of him and kick him down the well.
And yep. So that was the end of him, sort of. A bit.
Sort of. Of course, a lot of people kept thinking he's dead, but at the time, it would have ruined the story. So, moving on. They soon arrive inside, underneath the where it lives, Pennywise, where he lives, and we see this huge pile of things in a very big pile, and we see kids floating around that pile.
Closing, and then kids' bodies floating, and yeah.
And there we see Bill is the first one to arrive there, and he sees Beverly hovering there, and he quickly sees Georgie running around. We think it's Georgie, but it's not Georgie.
We think it's Pennywise in wait a minute. In a mind control thing, making it look like it's Georgie. How's that?
Yeah. Anyway, the others arrive and they help Beverly down, and Ben, in his using the Prince Charming approach, kisses Beverly and revives Beverly's mind. And she eventually kind of quotes some of the lines from his poem, hinting that he sent her a poem postcard in this movie, and she thinks all the time that it was Bill who sent it because he was a writer, as I said.
But it wasn't. It was Ben.
Yes. Anyway, soon enough, the kids approach Georgie, who's not really Georgie, and then Bill takes out his Mike's special, what do you call that special gun for killing animals?
It's a special gun with it's a pneumatic gun. It has a power what do you call it? A aerosol power pack type thing on it for killing cattle, sheep, whatever. Yeah, that sends a bolt through the head.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he takes out the gun thing and he shoots Georgie in the head, squarely in the head.
That'll give you a headache. Such a headache.
Then somehow the body begins to shake, and we see it's Pennywise in disguise. The kids try to fight it, but unfortunately the creature gets the upper hand and grabs Bill. And he says to them, "If you let me have this, I will let you guys go. You guys can guys grow older, and I won't come hunting for you."
Yeah, lovely. What a nice,
and Bill thinks that he was the one who got them down here. Therefore, they should just up and leave.
Yeah.
But Richie says to him that let's just kill this effing clown. And
she
so
said effing. That's not very nice.
So each one starts hitting the creature and using whatever objects they have at their fingertips, and the creature keeps turning into things they're scared of. But I think that they've grown a bit from the experience and don't feel any more scared of the creatures it transforms into.
They're getting less scared of it.
Yeah, even Beverly, who is when it transforms into Beverly's father, I think she's more angry at her father than fearful for her father.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
Anyway,
she eventually stabs it in the mouth, and the creature eventually starts dying. And Bill says to it that you are now going to be starving. And then the creature jumps into to another hole, and he says starts disappearing down it. And then we watch as Bill finds his brother's Georgie's trench coat. I mean, his raincoat. Yeah, raincoat, and with his name in it, and therefore he starts grieving, realizing he's finally got the closure that his brother is no longer.
Yeah, Pennywise did kill him.
Yeah. Later on, I don't know how many weeks later, but Beverly tells them about how when she was in that
catatonic state,
she was having this weird vision of them all grown up. They were all there back in the sewer, and they're all gonna. She remembers the feelings they had there, like, and she I think she knew that they were down there to fight the creature again.
Exactly.
And there, Bill makes everyone pledge that they swear to. When the creature is dead.
During the storyline, we figure he comes back every 27 years. So he said, if he comes back in 27 years,
yes,
we'll all come back and we'll fight him and put him to rest.
Yeah. So Bill takes a piece of broken glass.
That wasn't very hygienic, He could have got sick.
Yeah, and then makes a blood pat with the rest of the group.
Cut the cells.
Yeah.
Ew.
They all make a circle and hold each other's hands, and they make a promise. And then they slowly disbanded. They all went home, and Bill and Beverly are the only ones left. And they have a nice kiss session, and then we cut to the credits. Now I'll fast forward to the present.
27 years later, the second movie starts.
Yeah, so it begins with two latest victims are two gay guys. Yeah. And they're being bullied
at a local fair.
Yeah, they're bullied at a local fair. And this was in the book, I should mention. And I imagine the reason they didn't include it in the mini-movie thing is because I think it would have upset audiences.
And the original movie was a bit shorter.
Yeah.
They couldn't have everything in it.
Yeah, anyway, some locals bully the couple and ending up hitting and punching them and all that stuff. And then they throw one of the gay guys down into the river. And
he almost dies, but Pennywise saves him.
Yes.
Then he dies.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Mike, who's become sort of how'd they describe it in the book?
A local historian? That pretty good?
Not exactly.
No,
I was going to say, in a bit of in Stephen King's sense, he was more of a lighthouse keeper, watching over Derry, if you will.
Well, okay, whatever.
He lives at the library, obviously.
He's a sticky beak, there.
He lives at the library, but at the same time, he's knows what's happening, and he investigates the disappearances all the time. Of course, no one else thinks much of it, and he eventually finds a message there. It says, "Come home, come home, come home." That's written in blood on a brick pillar, I think it was.
Yeah, supporting the bridge or the wharf or something.
He then contacts each of the members, the Loser Club's members, and each one has been living
a very
successful
happy
life, sort of. Bill's become a writer and a script writer for Warner Brothers.
Gee, funny that, eh?
Funny. And his latest book is becoming a movie, and unfortunately, he's not good at endings.
We won't go into that.
According to some people, I think that Stephen King has been, told off about this sort of thing whenever his movies were translated.
So he's probably added to it.
Yes.
And he's having trouble with his leading lady, who happens to be his wife or girlfriend as well.
Whatever. She tells him to go to hell, and she thought he would understand his writing, but
she doesn't.
Obviously
she's not creative enough. Anyway,
he then gets a message from Mike, who tells him, "Guess what? This creature's back." And we then see from each loser, they start developing things that you cannot explain. Like they're experiencing their interferes.
Interferes, yeah. Which is still there.
Yeah, and most of them have developed shaky hands. Richie froze up.
Bill used to have a bit of a stutter.
Stutter.
And
He hasn't stuttered since he was a young kid.
And it started to come back a little bit, yeah.
And Beverly experiences, I guess, a vision of Stanley dying because he cuts his wrist.
Yeah, Stanley was took the coward's way out.
Yeah.
He cut his wrist in the bathtub.
Yeah.
He actually killed himself in the original movie too,
Yeah,
didn't
he
he?
did.
Yeah.
It's in the book, obviously, that he couldn't stand going back to Derry, so he took the coward's way out.
Yeah.
And I should mention, in the book, it said that none of the losers and the ones who got married, obviously, never had children, which makes you think something must be wrong. Like maybe...
Or maybe... Oh... Ben wasn't married, or had been divorced, maybe.
And
Bill was going through a pretty rough marriage anyway.
Yeah.
Beverly wasn't in a very happy marriage or relationship with the guys he's living with or married to. And one of them was gay, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Or two of them, maybe, possibly.
Mm.
Possibly two of them might have been gay. You wouldn't have too many kids running around.
Yeah, but there's an explanation for that. I won't go into details. I imagine Stephen King could probably explain it better in the book. Obviously.
Well, you're not Stephen King. Carry on.
Anyway,
we don't have a lot.
Even Eddie crashes his car when he was on the phone with Mike, as I said before.
He was a little bit shocked.
As I said before, do not have the phone on when you're driving.
Yes, even if it's hands-free, sometimes you can lose your concentration. Yeah.
Yes. Good lesson to everyone who's driving cars as we speak. Anyway, moving on. They eventually arrive at different times to Derry, and they all meet at a nice, what do they call it, a Chinese restaurant called the... I don't know.
Oh, One Hung Lo's China. No, the rich... no, I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah. Anyway, they
arrive... Chinese restaurant's good.
Yeah, they eventually arrive at the Chinese restaurant and exchange, meet and greets and say, hello, it's nice to meet you again, yada, yada, yada.
A long time. Huggy, kissy, when Beverly.
Yeah, everyone is happy to see Beverly, of course. And they all start eating food, a bit chit-chat.
Having a nice chuckle.
Discussing past and present, things. And Mike goes on to explain why they're here. They're here to put an end to Pennywise's reign.
And most of them have forgotten most of what happened for some reason, whether that was part of Pennywise's, I wouldn't say curse, speech control, they wouldn't remember.
I think Mike says it best. Everyone moved away, and therefore the hold on them from the past has either, it loses its hold. Like, whatever they remembered from the past, they blocked it, or more than blocked it, they just forgot. Anyway, it's not important. Well,
but Mike was there and he was investigating it. He was living it every day.
Mike, he's lived there still, and his memories are still intact from the experience.
He still has the little grey cells, eh? Mm-hmm.
Yes. Anyway, they then, as they're coming to the end of their meal, they eventually come to the fortune cookies.
And they say little creatures come out of them.
Well, before we get to the creatures, they get the first message. They develop some messages that say, putting them all together.
Oh, no,
it says,
each fortune cookie had a piece of paper with one word on it.
And one word.
What sort of fortune cookie is this?
Yeah.
Carry on.
And when they put it together, they try it several times but can't work it out. But eventually, the last piece fits the puzzle. It says, Stanley couldn't cut it.
Yeah. And that was every piece of paper they picked up made this message.
And then the rest of the fortune cookies start shuffling, and then they start popping open with these creatures. Ugh,
like little creatures, like an eyeball with tentacles and a little thing like a little bat lizard. Yeah.
And this weird black stuff starts pouring out on the table. I don't know what it is. And eventually, they quickly grab their chairs to start hitting the table and stuff like that.
This is going to cost.
Yeah.
You have to pay the repairs and damages to the restaurant.
How to explain this to the restaurateurs?
We didn't like the food.
Sorry. Yeah. We do encounter a weird little boy. I don't know his name. Does not matter in this movie. But we see him several times in this movie, and he lives in Bill's house. And he confronts the Richie, and Richie thinks he's just another figment of its form, obviously, another form that it takes. But he wasn't. So technically, they go back to the hotel, and some of them want to leave or flee because they don't realize that the dangers they're all in. But Mike explains that we must try to put an end to it, and Mike takes Bill to the library where he tells them about a special box that can probably contain it if they can try and stop it. And he got it from a special...
Well, not yeah. So it's a special box. They do a ritual there and try to capture his essence in it somehow or other.
Yeah. See, a local tribe of Indians who used to live in Derry used the box and were able to contain...
Well, tried
to contain it. And, of course, he stole it, technically, if you're going to... And anyway, so that's the plan. They have to collect some trinkets from their past to sacrifice to this little container. So the best place they go to was the old clubhouse. Yeah, clubhouse. I was going to say treehouse, but
they built a clubhouse underground. As well, hey, what a great way to hide a clubhouse, hey.
Yeah, it was actually Ben who created parts of it. He says he found it, by accident, that it was probably used as probably an old basement.
No, it could have been not. It could have been what it. There wasn't no house or anything. There could have been a basement. He found an old hole there, and he put some timbers in there to shore it up and everything, and put a roof over it and stuff, and put leaves over it, so no one knew it was there.
Yeah, and the first time they went down there, well, there was a flashback. There's going to be a lot of flashbacks to...
A few flashbacks.
Because, according to the director, they had to bring back the original actors to do those scenes. And while they looked a bit older, seeing as this was filmed probably in 2016, and by now they're like, say, 3 years older.
Yeah.
Meaning that they're a lot older, so they had to get them to react like they would back when they were 12.
It wouldn't be too hard. Anyway,
it would be difficult because...
It wouldn't be too hard.
Yeah. Anyway, so they also had to CGI some of their faces to make them look like their younger self a little bit here, because it has to look like it was done in the prior movie. Right, Mike?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, they find Stanley's shower cap. This shower cap was a sort of one of his things that he had, where they all wore them when...
To keep the spiders out of the hair.
Yeah.
What a great idea.
Yeah. So
never thought about that.
Mike explains that they must collect trinkets from their past. And when they were all separated, that summer... That's where they have to go and search for those key elements.
You had to find some links to their past. How's that? That sound good? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they go separately, even though at first Richie says we should stick together, all that stuff. But this is probably more about self-discovery when you think about it. Wouldn't you say, Mike?
Yeah, I'd say it's self-discovery. They had to go and find their own memories, not a group memory.
Yeah. See.
So Beverly had to find something which is relevant to her living in her old house where her dad and her were living and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So
She found her old postcard inside an old lady's house.
And an old pack of cigarettes.
Yeah.
Been stale after 27 years.
And this is where she confronts it in a creepy form. And eventually, when she comes out of the house, we see it looks abandoned.
Well, it looks like it's a derelict house. So she actually went into it. It was all an illusion.
Yes. It was the same in the second movie, and I imagine in the book it's mentioned too. Anyway, moving on. We then cross over to Richie, who's gone to the old theatre that had video game consoles there, and there his token or gift or whatever thing he has to get was a token which he kind of in his past life in his past he met a new friend who turned out to be a cousin to Henry Bowers, and he was acting a bit.
He's friendly, and all of a sudden he turned weird on him when his cousin showed up and whatever.
Yeah, and accused Richie of being gay.
So we don't know whether he was or not.
Yeah. Anyway, he gets meet up with it, even in the park, and this happens twice in that one too, where Richie meets it in the park, and it says, I know your secret, your dirty little secret.
Yeah, so
in a mocking way.
So he could have been gay.
Yeah,
Maybe.
secretly.
I don't know. So it didn't actually come out, but it was implied again. So yeah.
Yeah, I think he has not come out to his friends about it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Then we come to Eddie, who goes to get to the pharmacy where he gets an inhaler. He used to.
He's got Ventolin or something or other. Yeah.
I think that.
He's asthmatic.
Yeah, he learns from. In the first movie, I should mention, he finds out that his inhaler, his medicine, was a placebo.
Well, the pills he was taking were, placebos. His mother had him on pills and he's on Ventolin and stuff, and yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if the pharmacist is aware of that.
I reckon he was aware of it because you can't get placebos without a reason for it. So Mummy maybe had a reason, and maybe she was paying him or had him as her,
his beck and call, whatever.
Or doing things with him, and maybe he made up these fake pills so she could control her little boy. How's that?
Yeah, he also confronts it, and he meets the leper, but he's no longer afraid of the leper, considering. And eventually, he heads out of the pharmacy, and Richie and Eddie, they don't feel comfortable about this, and they want to leave. And I should mention Henry Bowers, who was confined to a mental institute for so many years.
27 years.
And
he got out now.
He eventually gets... it helps him get out, obviously, using the form of one of his old friends who got killed in the prior movie.
That's right, yeah. Didn't he kill his friends?
Yeah, well, he didn't kill that one.
He didn't kill that one.
But the other two,
he killed them.
In a deleted scene, he did slice their throats open.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he killed his friends, but they didn't kill that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think his name is Hochstetter.
That rings a bell, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see. Ben, he goes back to the school where he has his own flashback to how he wanted to express his feelings to Beverly, but it would turn out to be it in disguise, and he eventually hides in a locker, but where it tries to eat him. But unfortunately, Ben was able to get out, and gets away. Unfortunately, his token he's kept it for years. It was in his wallet. It turns out to be sort of a yearbook page that has only one signature on it.
See, we had sort of yearbooks in our school as well, but we didn't do much with them. But in this movie, they got their friends to sign them a blank page there so you can remember your friends.
Yeah.
And Ben had only one signature of anybody there, and that was from Beverly.
I never even had a yearbook myself, but I remember one.
I never bought one
but
when I was at school.
I did remember years ago when I was about to go on a trip to Egypt, and I had my friends sign my diary. I mean, my journal that I brought with me to Egypt with me, and I got them to sign it during one of my Antioch weekends with them.
Yeah.
And it was a nice gesture, I admit. It was great to be well loved, and it was the most nice time to feel like you're part of a group.
Exactly.
Anyway,
so
Anyway, so the rest of the group, they arrive back at the hotel, and Bill and Beverly have a moment. And Beverly still thinks that Bill sent the postcard with the poem on it. I think that's one memory she's forgotten mostly. Because she did remember it briefly, but I guess she'd forgotten during her time of being kind of...
We're going to go on overtime if you keep talking about every bit of it.
Then it appears in a form of a skateboard where it tells Bill that he's going to kill the kid that he met,
Earlier.
I should mention, Bill also got his token. That's actually the paper boat where he grabs it from it, who's pretending to be
one of Georgie had at the beginning. Yeah,
and he meets the little boy I mentioned who lives in his house, and he then learns much later when he sees a skateboard that says that you will not be able to save him like you did with Georgie. So Bill runs to the fun fair, which is where the kid might be located, and we see him enter the hall of mirrors, and there he tries to save the boy, but unfortunately it got there first. What would you say?
Yes, I would say so, yes.
And Bill is more than keen than ever to go and confront the creature on his own terms. But the others, they eventually hear about this, and they eventually follow after him. We also learned that Beverly has, when she was developing that weird catatonic thing, when she met the dead...
In that catatonic state.
She's developed a bit of a...
she saw the future.
She saw the future. And she could see that all of them are going to die. And even if they don't confront this creature, they'll still die.
Yeah. But they survived. Ah.
Yeah, it's sort of this... Probably explains why Stanley died, you know.
He was scared.
He was scared. And I think that's what's going to happen to the rest of them if they don't do this.
Anyway, move along.
Anyway, they then meet Bill back at the old house, and they all said they made a promise to do this. So they headed inside, and then they go down throughout the house.
Down the well house.
Down the well. Yeah. And then, or before they go to the well, they do confront it along the way in the house, where they see Stanley head appear and comes in the form of a spider thing.
A little bit like Alien, was it?
No, The Thing.
The Thing, yeah, Thing, yeah,
that
sorry,
movie.
The Thing, yeah, sorry,
or
yeah, yeah.
a newer movie. I'm not sure which one.
Yeah, where
I ought to watch one of the Things one of these days. I should.
The remake or the original?
I don't know. I have to look into that.
Both of them.
I'll have to check it up on both.
Compare them.
Anyway, so soon enough they go down into the sewer, and eventually they go deeper into the sewer because the first part we see was where where in the first movie, and some of the things we don't see the children hovering there like we saw last time.
Yeah.
But then anyway, they then find this hatch, and that allows them to go deeper into
the system.
And there we see the remains of a meteorite that according to
Indian legend, a meteorite
struck the earth, and this is where it came from.
That's what Mike was told by the Indians, and actually on this container he stole from the Indians.
Yeah. So they get to the center of the meteorite, and they place the Indian box, and they start filling it with gasoline or whatever.
Or nothing, lighter fluid or something. And had to throw their little memorabilia into it.
Yeah, Mike's memorabilia thingy was actually from the rock war, the remaining rock that has a bit of blood on it. I should mention, Henry Barrows does confront some of the losers in one of the scenes, and eventually he was killed by Richie, none other, in the library.
Really?
I should mention this early, but I was trying to rush ahead to continue this story. Anyway,
we've got too many things to talk about. Yeah.
Anyway, they start the chanting, and then we see the dead lights appearing from the ceiling, coming down to inside the boxy thing. But as they try to close the lid on it, it started to blow up like a balloon. Bigger, and bigger, and soon enough,
like a big
pop!
balloony. And then bigger and bigger, filled the whole cavern, didn't it?
Yeah.
That's
it filled the meteorite, and eventually...
It's a crater, not a meteorite.
Anyway, the crater, and eventually it pops, and then it appears and tells them that the ritual chad, that's what it's called, it never worked. Somehow, Mike failed to tell them the rest of the story, that the Indians who did the ritual first time, they failed. They didn't. It was too powerful for them, right? When you say, Mike?
That's what they said, yeah.
And Mike thought that they didn't believe that we had something they didn't have. They believe and all that stuff. And eventually, it in its big spider-looking form. It's still a clown. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but it's still a clown head, but it morphs into different shapes.
Yeah. Anyway, it chases after them, and soon enough, they get separated in several occasions, where Beverly gets separated from Ben, and eventually they have a memorable moment there when you think about it, where they chant out Ben's poem, and she realized that she remembers that it was Ben's poem, not Bill's. And she started to realize that she loves Ben. Anyway, Eddie, using his bravery, he eventually uses one of the spikes they had that was outside the front fence, and he throws it like a javelin into the creature, where it destroys its dead lights ability. A bit. But he thinks he got him, and he ends up. The creature ends up spiking itself on the crater. This crater's got all these chunks of jagged rocks. But eventually, it spears its claw into
his
chest and not killing him completely. He's still alive.
He dies eventually.
And
he's got big holes around.
And Mike realizes, he remembers from what the Indians told him about about life and sizes and stuff like that.
It has to reflect life, its shape and whatever, and conform to it. But it also remembers about making it smaller.
Yeah, and they realize there are many ways to make someone small, making you believe that you're small. So they use he goes on to say, "I'm the eater of worlds." If you're the eater of worlds, why are you stuck in Derry?
Blah blah blah, and it keeps going on, and they start intimidating him, and
it starts taking on different shapes, different forms,
going through
from one shape to the other,
struggling to morph itself into a coherent figure. How's that?
Yeah, and soon enough it gets smaller and smaller and smaller until it is no more than a small withered old baby type.
Like a rag doll almost.
And he keeps on saying, "I'm the eater of worlds," but they all say, "You're nothing." And then Mike takes his hand and plunges it into its belly and takes out its beating heart. Yeah, its beating heart continues to beat.
And they all squash it.
Yeah, and this creature looks on in knowing he is doomed.
Oh, I'm screwed.
And the creature withers away, and they then approach
happily ever after.
Eddie, but Eddie's long dead, and Richie has a bit of a sad moment with him because I think he deep down loves
his
Eddie.
Friend. Yeah.
Anyway, the place begins to crumble, and they have only a few minutes left to get out.
They get out of there anyway.
They get out,
quickly.
And the place crumbles down and
falls into a hole.
Yeah, sinks into a hole. And
there's like a big hole there, and the house starts to fall, implode on itself. How's that good word?
Yeah, and they arrive back at the lake again and dive in and wash.
And they clean all the blood crap off and the gunky stuff out of the grey water in the sewer and
to me, this scene, it symbolizes pure, a cleaning ritual. After you, like some people would use it as a cleaning ritual where you clean the blood or whatever stuff that you washed your hands of, symbolizing that it's over and it's not
it's final.
It's final.
Yes. Okay.
Anyway, the rest of the group, they swim and Richie cries a bit because now.
And everybody comforts him.
Yeah, because they lost their friend. And they actually lost two friends, actually. They lost Stanley at the beginning, and they lost Eddie.
Yeah.
And then we have a nice moment where Ben and Beverly, they express their emotions by kissing each other.
And it is implied in the storyline that they got together. She got rid of her old husband, who was a real mongrel, just like her father was, and she hooked up with Ben. Yeah.
Yeah, and they sail off into the sunset with their dog.
Whatever.
Anyway.
Oh, yeah, they were on a boat, weren't they?
Yeah. And Bill gets back home and he's writing his story, and he gets a phone call from Mike who tells him about that he's going to be leaving Derry soon, and therefore he also tells him, Bill asks him, "Why am I not forgetting like last time?" And he says maybe it's because it's dead. And
you can't control them.
And you can't control them. So all the memories are still fresh, even though in the book it says that their memories of the past events disappeared.
Okay, right.
But anyway, eventually, Mike reminds him of a letter that Stanley had written to all the losers, I guess.
And he hadn't opened it or seen it just yet. It came in that day's mail.
Yeah. Bill reads it, and we get Stanley's telling about how this is not a suicide attempt, but he reminds him that he took himself out because he felt like he was not going to be.
He thought he was so scared he would have gotten their way, and it would have cost them all their lives if he came back. Yeah. So he decided to take himself out of the equation.
Yeah, and he remarks, "If did it work?" And it says, "You'll get your answer."
No, he said, "If you're reading this, it's obviously worked."
Yeah, and he tells them about how they'll always be losers and they'll always be friends. And then we cut to the credits, the end. And everyone, even Richie goes back to a step bridge where he carved his name and Eddie's name. As I guess it's sort of the place where you often write your
People carve your
like
incident
Teddy
tree
likes,
or a fence or something rather.
like Teddy loves Tanya or something like that. The stuff that you see in those
and Richie
places.
and Eddie. That's why I think they were both gay.
Yeah.
I think
Richie was gay, but I think Eddie was in denial. I think that's because he was married to someone or a female, obviously, and it was a very controlling relationship. It was like married
just
to your
like
mum.
his mother.
Yeah, it was like married to your mum.
Anyway, fade to black.
Yeah, and then Mike leaves Derry for a lot and never coming back. Obviously, the end.
Yeah. But I'm not going to talk too much because obviously we've had a long storyline.
I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's a long story. We'll do just 2 movies. Now, look, I'm going to be really quick through this. Mainly, the critics liked it, but they did bag it in some way. So I'll just do a quick... No. They said it was a good story. Okay. They said the acting of the kids was good.
Good.
Yeah, in the first one, obviously, kids. So they're happy with that. But their only problem, the main problems came up in a couple of reviews is they thought, how do you put it? It was like la 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 la, jump scare, la 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 la, jump scare. Now, okay, we've gone through this scenario before.
We have.
This is not a straight horror movie, is it, folks?
Nope.
Come on. What sort of movie is it? A supernatural horror movie. This is a supernatural story with a horror theme. It is not an action horror. It is not a slasher movie. It's actually a story with some horror thrown into it.
Yeah.
So obviously they developed the storyline more. Remember telling a story? You read a book, you read a story. This was made from a book. Mr. King wrote the book. This has been transferred into a screenplay, which subsequently got made into, in this case, 2 films. Now, so it's actually a drama with a horror theme.
Yeah.
A coming-of-age horror, if you like. But the point is, some of these critics think, it's not a slasher film, and
It was
not
not
blood
a
and
slasher
guts all over the
film.
place. It didn't meet the criteria. And I'll say, bullcrap. I think both of these movies made by these people, I won't mention all the names, it fits the criteria. It has conveyed the story that Stephen King wrote in his book better than the original movie did.
Yeah. Even though the original was close to the period that the story takes place throughout the movie, and this one takes place. The first movie takes place in the 80s. I know this.
Or whatever. Yeah.
And of course, the next movie takes place in far to the near future.
Or 27 years later, or whatever.
Because of the technology you may have seen.
Yeah, but I think the original movie, obviously, they would take back a little bit further. Of course, it was made in the 90s, wasn't it? Mm. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, so just about that. A bit different.
Pretty much.
But the point still remains is that some of these critics, I don't think they're in tune with the real world.
Yeah.
This is a supernatural horror, which is actually a drama with a horror theme. It's not an action horror, okay?
Yeah.
Like a Jason Voorhees or a Michael Myers running around killing people and cutting their heads off and slashing the heads off and things and all the good groovy things you like in slasher movies.
You're probably correct, Mike, on that because they probably never bothered to actually read the books or even bother to actually...
And that's another point. Do critics who do movies actually know how to read? If they actually read the book, they'd say, hey, this was really, really, really good. It was just like the book. Yeah.
So
there you go then.
Yeah, I mean, or even rewatch the other one.
Well, the original one, the original one was shorter. It concertinaed in and got rid of some of the dead bits, the slower bits, and just threw it all together. So obviously it moved a bit faster than the 2 movie versions.
Yeah, I often thought that the old one, I was very scared of that one when I was little, and I kind of was still drawn to the story. I mean, I think it was probably because I liked it when they were adults, because then they kind of fought its fearful images. Because they're adults, they can control their imaginations better.
Well, you would like to think so.
Whereas children, when they see something they cannot explain, they think it's frightful and real. It makes it real.
Anyway, we don't go too long because we're already over an hour at the moment.
I do wonder why it wanted to bring them back. Maybe he wanted to settle a score with all of them.
Possibly.
Because he was angry that they allowed it to starve for, say...
27 years.
27 years. And he wanted to... I think more or less he wanted them back. And
he couldn't send out for a pizza. No Uber Eats.
Although he did kill a few children along the way. Like there was one scene where one of the girls in a sort of tank that's watching a football with her mum.
Football or baseball?
Football or baseball, I'm not sure.
I think it was baseball.
And she meets him under the bleachers. Yeah, the bleachers.
Yeah, under the bleachers, yeah.
And there he acts all nice and gentle towards her. And then
he eats her head off.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice touch.
It's one hell of a head job. Anyway, who said that?
I do think it was interesting, and I liked it that they included a bit of backstory to Henry Bowers, because in the past we only got...
he was just a nasty little kid.
Yeah.
Nasty kid from school.
We knew that he was abused by his father. It was mentioned in the other movie.
His father sounded like a real control freak. And Henry was rebellious because his dad was trying to control him all the time.
Yeah.
So they were making a rift between themselves by their own actions.
Yeah. I also heard that Henry's father, Bowers, obviously, he was also racist. Both Henry and him were racist. Like they didn't like Mike or his grandfather.
Well, that's probably where it came from. Maybe his father told Henry about Mike's parents being burnt in a fire, and he said some nasty things about Afro-American.
Yeah. So he may have gotten it, and from his racism from his dad, and his hatred for other people.
Anybody else who doesn't fit his little criteria has that.
Yeah, which could extend to almost everyone in the town.
Anyone he doesn't like. Okay, we're going to kill this now because we could go on a bit.
I'm
about
sorry,
production
guys.
and stuff.
Should we review them? Should we vote?
A vote, 10 for both of them.
Yeah, I'm going to say 10 for both of them too, because I like the periods they set this. I always think it has the Stranger Things happening in the first one, but which is what everyone probably might get the same feeling, general feeling too.
I will say one thing. I'll talk about the availability in a minute. I think the actors that played the adults were pretty reflective of the younger people. So
I agree.
They did match them off pretty good.
Yeah. It is a bit hard when you're doing a movie and you have to make sure...
You're going to get a kid who's, say, 15 years old and they add 27 years to them, what they're going to look like.
I just mean, it's difficult to find actors to both the adult version and the younger version.
And you've got the looks and the sort of personality. Yeah. They did pretty good.
I never did a movie where you had to, have a younger self and an older self and try to combine the two in the process.
I will say one thing. I did mention Sophia Lillis before. She was a very capable actor, whatever, and she did get mentioned by the critics. They thought she was rather a good actress, and I agree. I think she's headed for a good career if she's given the opportunity.
Yeah.
So,
Also, guys, I should have mentioned this at the beginning, guys, but I wanted to review this one before Halloween because me and Mike, we're going to go check out Fright Night. Mike and I are checking out Fright Night. That's located in Movie World.
Yeah, Movie World here in Brisbane, or just down the Gold Coast. Yeah.
And therefore, we're also going to check out the Stephen King's Maze.
Yes,
So to get us... We're just going to go there and check it out. It sounds like
they've got these horror mazes, house sort of thingies, and you go in there and they try to scare the crap out of you. Yeah,
I'll be sure to film parts of the maze if I can.
We can. No, you can. We can. We've checked into it, so So you might get an idea of what we went through.
I can't wait to see everyone screaming.
Whatever. Yeah.
I think that's what makes it less scary.
Availability, yes, you can get it on eBay and Amazon. I didn't quite see whether Amazon was actually renting it, but you can buy it through both, so you should be able to get it from other sites such as who distribute either selling or renting. So there you go. Yeah. Now, this has already gone on for an hour and a bit. So
sorry for that.
No, just these people, they're probably Want to go to the toilet, do something, get a cup of coffee,
True.
Whatever.
So, guys,
Go to bed.
that's about it for us tonight. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I'll try to review next time the old Stephen King's It movie, but as I said before, it'll be the same story, only a different period.
wouldn't bother.
Why you say that?
Well, it's like doing The Shining and The Shining.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same story, but one's based on more about the house, one's based more about the guy's mental decline. But still the same story. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it. It's too samey.
It would be interesting to discuss the actors, like
I
that
know,
one
yeah,
too.
yeah, well.
Especially how one of them who was playing the adult Bill, who couldn't act his way of the.
No, that's not fair.
Okay,
He was okay. He's been in many things. He's in the Waltons and
it's just his
whatever,
acting doesn't change.
No.
I know that a lot of
No,
actors
he plays himself. He plays himself. Yeah. But, yeah.
I know from experience that when you're an actor in any situation, you have to change your acting. Your
character.
Characters.
Yes, but he does I think he's trying to say he comes over saying he always plays the same role.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, so
He comes off samey.
He's still an actor.
Anyway, that's about it for us guys tonight. So I'll let you guys know what our next review will be. So this is Sarah Stephenson.
And Michael.
Saying see you guys around and on Boys and Ghouls Film Review. Bye for now.
Bye.